This morning, I got my period back for the first time in over 3 years, naturally, and I need to talk to you guys about it. I have never shared this on the internet before, but I have not had a period since I came off birth control in 2022. I waited and waited and waited, and then at 6 months, when it still wasn't back, I went to my family doctor and I was like, hey, I still don't have my period back. I don't think this is normal. From here, a lot of testing started. We did some blood work, we did some ultrasounds. I started seeing a OB or a gynecologist for extra help as well. This was in June of 2023. Now the kicker, which looking back now is really important to note, is that when I got off birth control, it was the first time that I went through my significant weight loss phase. Not only was I in a calorie deficit and I was training for my wedding, not that you need to train for a wedding, but you get what I'm saying. I was trying to get in the leanest, best shape of my life. I was already losing weight. I was training hard, and then we removed the birth control pill as well. Honestly, at this time, I felt so amazing. I felt like I was in the best shape of my life. I was in the best shape of my life. The first thing, I have to be honest, that my family, friends had recommended when I didn't have a period, they were like, maybe it's because like you've trained so hard, you've lost this weight. And I refused to believe that as an option. I didn't want to believe it as an option because I wasn't willing to give up that look and that lifestyle. Like I just worked so hard for all of it. So I was like, no, that cannot be it. The other reason why I was not willing to believe that as an option is because none of the doctors believed that that was an option. Like I said, I started off with my family doctor. I then had an OB who retired. So then I had a new OB who came on. I asked him about it. I asked the previous one about it. Both of them said like, not underweight, you're healthy. There's no way that that's an option. You would have to be anorexic or under 100 pounds in order to lose your period. That's what they would tell me. Honestly, I took that answer and I ran with it because like I said, I didn't want to believe that to be the truth anyways. And I was like, okay, no, they said that that can't be it. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I am an online fitness coach. So obviously keeping a very specific physique was important to me. So I did exactly that. I continued what I was doing. I went through another deficit after taking a little bit of a break. I continued to train hard because I honestly enjoyed it. Doctors started putting me on different types of pills. I did some letrozole, I did estrogen, I did progesterone, multiple different routes of hormone therapy, multiple different rounds of hormone therapy. And I did get a couple withdrawal bleeds, which basically is when you have hormones and then you take them away, your body will automatically bleed or you'll have a quote cycle. The same thing that happens when you're on birth control is you're on your period, but technically really it's a withdrawal bleed. You don't know for sure because you have a hormone in your body, and then when you stop for during those 7 days and you're on the sugar pill, it's a withdrawal bleed. Got my hopes up every single time. I would have the hormone, I'd get the withdrawal bleed. Sometimes I didn't even get the withdrawal bleed, but when I did, I was like, okay, this is great. I waited till the next month. The period never came back naturally. All my ultrasounds were normal. Most of my blood work was normal. I'm not one to shit on doctors. I'm literally a nurse. I think doctors are amazing. Through all of this, I just learned it's a really big lack of knowledge included in the profession, in my opinion. Basically, none of the doctors were alarmed. After I saw my OB a few times, we did the medications. They didn't work. First, he wanted to put me back on birth control to protect my bones from osteoporosis. I get it, sure. But like, I'm married. I'm not ready for kids quite yet, but I want to be able to be when I want to be. So I wasn't about to go back on birth control. I kept denying the birth control. So then eventually he said, go home and come back when you want to get pregnant. And when you do, we'll give you some more hormones, medications to try to get you fertile. If you don't have a period, then that means that you're not ovulating. So in my head, I'm confused because I don't have a period, but I'm also kind of starting to freak out because I'm 29. I really didn't know if I was fertile. As far as I knew, I wasn't fertile. I didn't even know if I'd be able to have kids one day. So then reality started to set in and I started to take things seriously. I felt like I was being very dismissed. So I made a self-referral to see a fertility specialist because I wanted somebody who was gonna really look into this and also get me in a spot where if I did need IVF, that was an option. I live in Ontario. So if you know how our health care system goes, it takes quite a while to get into a fertility specialist. But I did, I got in, and I went for some testing, I went for some blood work, I went for a ton of ultrasounds. They also gave me a few more hormones. And the exact same thing happened. I bled when I had the hormones, and then as soon as the hormones stopped the next month, nothing came back. I did, however, learn through all of the testing and all of the ultrasounds that everything looked normal. There was no reason why I didn't have a period and why I was not ovulating. Half of me was like, okay, that's good, that's great news, nothing's wrong. But then the other half of me is like, well, there's still something wrong. So like, what is happening here? I just knew I don't want this for me, for us. When my husband and I are ready to have a kid, I would love to just have it be like a spur of the moment, natural surprise that, you know, you don't have to like put effort and planning into. And I know that that's a huge privilege. But if that was a possibility for me, I wanted to really make sure I exhausted all my options to pursue that route if I could. We're calling it a day here for makeup, so I'm just going to talk to you guys for the rest of this. So I started to look into the idea of maybe I did overtrain, maybe I did underfuel, maybe I took it a little too far. Like I said, I was in denial about that for a very long time because I didn't want that to be the reality. When I started looking into what happens in the human body when that takes place and why that takes place, I found that it was called hypothalamic amenorrhea, a term that even as a nurse, I wasn't really familiar with. I started taking it step by step after this. I was like, okay, I know that the things that can cause this is stress, whether it be mental or physical, overtraining, underfueling, all of that. And I will say it was a perfect storm when all of this happened at once. Like I said, I got off the pill, I lost my period, but during that time I was getting married. We moved to a new city 2 hours away. I was working 3 jobs. I was in a calorie deficit. I loved my high intense training. And I also started doing social media, which was quite honestly the hardest thing I've ever started in my entire life. It gave me so much physical stress and anxiety because you have to be vulnerable and you have to put yourself out there. And it's really, really hard to do when you first start. This video is getting too long already, so I'm going to explain the recognizing the HA and how I now got my period back in part 2. So head to part 2.